Hi everyone, and welcome to your pre-learning for our PL day on Thursday. Now the whole idea of this setting it up in this manner, it is to give you a first-hand experience of what the kids will be actually experiencing. So you're aware of what they will be doing and what they're looking at, as well as what we're actually supposed to be doing in that sense. The main changes that are actually made to this format here, you'll actually find in your modules. And basically your modules now, if I go to that, you can see have actually been set up in the blended learning format. Okay, what do I mean by that? What we've actually done, we've actually taken this blended model learning sequence of ignition, learning preparation, learning modules, virtual lesson, evidence of learning and reflection, and tied that up as a module. Now these modules can actually be weekly or fortnightly, or in some cases, depending on what you're actually trying to achieve, it might go longer than that. But the idea is that the students actually have this form of model to follow, so they're orientated in their learning. Okay, so before we go back there, let's just come home. As you can see here, this is the engineering course that I'm starting to prepare for next year. Why next year? Because I know that I need to put a bit of work into this to make sure I get it right. It's the same with our other courses. I know with IPT, I've got to put a lot of work in there to make sure I get that right as well. So the earlier I start, the better. When we're talking about that though, like an expectation is that we're 2 weeks ahead with our Canvas site, and for compliance we know that we should be at least 1 term ahead there as well, and I'll come back and talk a little bit about compliance in a second. Okay, so in here, like what you'll actually find is the current topic button, the syllabus, modules, and more resources. Okay, so if I just come to the syllabus, let me just start with this front page here. Again, the main thing that we've actually got, course outline. If you actually have noticed, you'll probably find that's been taken straight from the syllabus. Here I put in some key links, engineering studies, NESA keywords, and a way that people can actually contact me as the tutor of this course. Pretty clean and simple, and it's not that much information on there, so it's not an endless scroll for students. Now if I come to current topics, what you'll actually see here is I've already started doing pre-planning. I haven't done all this work, but I know off this page I should have term 1, term 2, term 3. When I come to actually term 1 here of my current topics, you can see I've got weeks 1 and week 2 already ready to go. The idea of having this page here is not only for students to be able to interact with this quite quickly and know where they're at, but it's also for the mentors in the school. They can come in and they can click on here and see where the students are at and get a fairly quick idea of the work that should be completed or where students are up to. Again, you can see here I'm 2 weeks in advance, and that's pretty much what we're actually asking all expert teachers in the virtual school to do, and that is to be 2 weeks in advance of their actual learning. You can see also here I've been planning for the half-day face-to-face where we can get to meet actual students, as well as the full-day face-to-face where we're getting it done. This is quite important because we want to make sure that we get these times out quite early. And yes, while this is for next year, I need your dates for term 4 so I can approach the schools and say this is when our face-to-face dates will actually occur. So where do we actually find those dates? I'll come back here to my syllabus. And here in my scope and sequence that I've actually got prepared, I'll open this one up. I'm hoping that you can actually see that within the video recording now. You can see here I've actually got these aligned within my scope and sequence, and that's where I'm actually getting the time from. Okay, so I need to make sure that we get this done. If I come back to this page here, wrong page, let me get back to the right one. Same with assessment plan, we need to actually get those done. And again here, added little points here. Engineering syllabus again to reiterate that that's where we're getting the information from. And now we've actually got the School of Now assessment policy, which all you guys worked on and helped me develop as well. We've embedded that in here. You see already the lessons are starting to pop up with the different things that we've actually got going, and Zoom meetings are already starting to appear as well in this document. Now, the reason I've actually, I understand that you actually have a whole lot of work on, and you've already got these assessment plans already developed for your school. I'd like to help you and try and save you some work. And the idea here is I can come back in and change all this formatting for you if you get the document to me. Right? I need this document for compliance. The school needs this document for compliance as well. So the idea is, rather than actually you double working and changing all of this, if you get it to me as soon as possible, I can actually help you and get that fixed up here. So what I'll actually do with these documents, here if I actually come to the file section, I'll set this up for you as well, so you don't have to have a look at the back end. The idea of course administration, you can see not only do I have the PDF documents that are actually here, I've also got Word, like Google Docs access here, so that we can upgrade them for next year. So when we hand over or roll over these courses to the next teachers of next year, straight away it's easy enough. We've got access to these documents where we can chop and change them relatively easily without having to try and dissect the engineering studies section or like a PDF for that. Same can be said with assessment tasks. They'll all sit in here with some work samples so people get an idea of what's actually happening, as well as the teaching programs as well. So this end here, like I said, if you send me these things, I will do all this work for you. You won't have to do it. And that's also the way that I'll be checking to make sure that we're compliant, that this work is here. Coming back to home. Right. More resources I'm not going to worry about. That's extra little bits and pieces that you can put in there for yourself. The modules are actually the framework, which is what I want to actually have a look at quickly here. So if I come back here to the modules, you can see, and I'll just get this up here as well. My apologies for doing this. Syllabus. Right. Here's the blended learning framework, ignition, lesson preparation, learning modules, virtual lesson, evidence of learning, and reflection. Okay, we've swapped these two about because what we're looking at is ignition, learning preparation, then moving to the virtual lesson, when then synchronous there, where then they can move into asynchronous doing the work there. Okay, so what does that actually look like? When I come here to the engineering one, ignition, outcomes, learning intentions and success criteria, orientating the student on what's happening over the next week, learning preparation, what I'm actually expecting them to do before we meet in our Zoom meeting. This is a great little addition, which I'll come back to when we go through the actual page. But Lisa Nash will be joining us on Thursday to explain how we can embed EBSCO library into our pages. So now our School of Now has a virtual library we can actually work on. There's a Zoom meeting where we are getting together. More asynchronous content, evidence of learning for the week, as well as a reflection. Like I said, when you start looking at this and comparing it back to this here, all of these points are actually being stipulated through the modules. Now, the reason that this has actually come about is there's a couple of things. The first thing is we are actually saying to the schools, this is what we're doing. There's no doubt about it. We can actually straight away align each of these headings to an element of our Canvas page if we do it this way. At the moment, we don't have parents actually coming into this site, but eventually they will. And again, if they understand that this is the expectation, and then they can find it easily, you'll find that our work is going to cut down when we're actually explaining to students and parents what we're actually doing. Okay, so we're embedding this in there because we're saying this is the way that we should be working in the School of Now, and now we've got evidence to show that we are actually doing it. So coming back here, let me just go back through here so you can actually see. Say I'm a student in the course. I've actually come to, I won't go to student view because I'm not sure if I'm all up and running. I haven't done a check of this one yet, but let me go to current topics, term 1, then term 1 weekly preparation. So here's my ignition page. I've got the outcomes, I've got my syllabus dot points, what I'm actually focusing on this time. Learning intentions are there as well, success criteria, and here is the activities that we'll actually be doing over this week. Like I said, this is a quick go-to page for not only students but also for the mentors that we've actually got in the school. So, next here, keeping in mind that this is actually the first time these students will actually be using this, I've actually come in here and given them a bit of background information on how we are supposed to interact online. Okay, just a little bit of consideration, starting to set up the norms and letting them know what the actual intention is. Here is, though, the real learning for this week. Now, this is taking a little bit of a time to actually load, but what it's actually doing, it's actually going to an app which puts us into the EBSCO library. Now here you can see I've gone to the good old Funkin' Wagnalls, and I've actually gone and got the definitions of what engineering is. So all of a sudden my pre-learning has come back down to actually them reading this work and understanding what the different areas of engineering actually are. Now you'll find as well, like in the pre-learning that we're actually doing, I'm actually shooting this flipped video. So students can actually, you guys in this case, will be watching this video as part of your pre-learning to our day on Thursday. So again here, how you want to do it, it's up to you, but the power of now having access to this library and access to this source of information is just strengthening the learning that we can actually deliver in course. Again, Lisa will be explaining this to us, Lisa Nash from the Lex team. But also apart from this, there's also the Click View facility, which she'll run through on the day as well for us. Okay, next, here we have the Zoom meeting. Right now, the reason I've actually starting to embed it in here is because I can mark this as attendance. Okay, Dave showed us this, and he'll be able to speak about this a little bit better. But the whole idea is now, once we actually join this Zoom meeting, I can now go, yep, 1 point for attending, 0 points for absences. And this we can actually calculate and get a visual of their attendance in the course. Right? So I'm finding this is actually quite powerful. You can see here I've already set up the times. My time is on a Monday at around about 2:30, but because this is in the week just prior to going back to school, and I know the students are already pretty excited about it, I thought I'd hold a little get-together just to iron out some concerns if there's any. Okay, but by embedding it in an assignment here, you can actually mark attendance, and that goes back to the communication to the students through Canvas. Next. Here I've actually got the learning for this week. So I have my pre-learning. The students needed to understand what an engineer actually does. Here now I'm giving them a little bit of, hey, this is what the School of Now is about and the expectations. I've actually given the different forms of learning that's actually going on, the face-to-face, synchronous, asynchronous, and the physical face-to-face. So they've got that in their head now. Here they've got the blended learning format, so I'll be able to go through that as well with them. And it's just understanding how the learning process actually happens. I feel it's quite important at this stage, but in a general lesson, this wouldn't appear again. We've got it in the syllabus. So next here is our actual real learning for it. So here, great little video on the life of a bolt. Here we're actually looking at what is engineering. This one is a little bit more deeper, where it's a crash course in engineering, going deeper into what they actually do. Down here for the disciplines, and I've also referenced it here as well, so they can have a look at what's expectation. Next, here is my evidence of learning. Right. So again, in this case here, and I've set one up that you can actually do this as well. Students can download the actual file there that they can work on, and then they are to resubmit it. Here I've got level of completion of the assignment. So that's just a general rubric. And here you can see I've actually got my outcomes already set up to the keywords that NESA actually uses. Okay, so extensive, thorough, sound, basic and elementary. So when it comes time to actually grade this on the speed grader, I can just come and click through quite quickly to see how it's done. The other thing I've actually put down here is the NESA keywords. Are they actually getting to I hope they get to an identifier, but describes here, because it's the first week, it's quite low level, but as we go on, are they actually hitting those keywords and understand what it is? This is in that decay format as well, so the better that student, like this will give me a record over time, not just this once, but over time how they're performing on those outcomes. Next, reflection for the week. So again here, in this case here, I just want to see like what they've actually learned and to start discussing with each other what they feel is the best invention for in the sense of engineering. One thing that I've actually found, and I know I'm like diverging here as well, is that the social aspect of these courses I'm finding to be more and more important. And this is one way that we can actually get the students talking to each other and getting them to actually not only learn with each other, but to also understand each other's different points of view within the class. Like I said, I'm finding from my own actual learning from courses that I'm studying via distance, this social aspect and this integration is quite important. So here, while we're asking them to write a reflection, it's also getting them to communicate to each other how they're actually going and what their ideas and beliefs are. Okay, if I click next, it's going to take us on to the system again. So we've got the Ignite, got the pre-learning, learning preparation. In that case, that was a video rather than like a library reference. Here, key discoveries in engineering. I've actually assigned them a full text. And while it might seem like a bit of work, this is only 44 pages and it's a little timeline of how engineering's occurred. Zoom meeting again. Asynchronous learning to be undertaken at this time. And evidence of learning, what they need to actually do here. And we finish up with the discussion. Like I said, again, the more that we actually look at this, you can see how this is being, this learning sequence is coming through. The only difference that I've actually done is swap the virtual learning over with the learning modules. So it's got ignition, learning preparation, the Zoom, virtual learning, learning modules, evidence of learning and reflection. Okay, the other thing as well, like I said with this here, you can start to see that things are popping up. They've got their Zoom meetings ready to go. Their calendar's actually happening as well. Look, this isn't necessarily, like this is again another iteration of how we're actually doing it, but I'm feeling like a better teacher, and I'm also feeling like I've got a better understanding of how this all works now because I am now employing this. This day is not only about developing this source, it's about stopping for a little bit and reflecting on how we went this year. I know in my own practice, just with having the Zoom meetings come up and be able to be assessed as in present or not present is going to give me so much strength when I've got some really challenging conversations coming up in term 4. I know I have with some of my kids based on the results that they're actually getting, but you can see by having that evidence there now, there's no excuses. I can go straight to it, pull it up and have an honest and open discussion about it without any qualms. However, by previous practice, I can actually see that this is a stronger method of working the actual documents through. Okay, hope you enjoyed this little video and I will see you at 9 a.m. on Thursday morning so that we can actually get some time on these sites together. Okay, thank you and talk to you then. Bye.